France, 1634. In the walled town of Loudon, a group of nuns began to scream, convulse, and claim they were tormented by unseen forces. They said demons spoke through them, twisted their bodies, and named the man responsible. What followed was not just an exorcism, but a public spectacle of fear, obsession, and vengeance that would end in fire. Because in Loudon, the question was never simply whether the devil had arrived. It was who stood to gain from everyone believing he had.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people. The engineering and creating people. The fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people. The just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Big savings are in the air. Don't miss your chance at 15% cash back during Rakuten's Big Give Week. Shop and get rewarded at your favorite stores like Ulta, Blue Apron, KitchenAid, and hundreds more. So go ahead and refresh your closet, spruce up your home, book that trip, and much more. But 15% cash back is only from May 4th to 11th, so join now. Go to Rakuten.com or download the Rakuten app to join for free and start saving. That's RAKUTEN.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With AllTrails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today and make the most of your summer with AllTrails.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people. The engineering and creating people. The fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people. The just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Big savings are in the air. Don't miss your chance at 15% cash back during Rakuten's Big Give Week. Shop and get rewarded at your favorite stores like Ulta, Blue Apron, KitchenAid, and hundreds more. So go ahead and refresh your closet, spruce up your home, book that trip, and much more. But 15% cash back is only from May 4th to 11th, so join now. Go to Rakuten.com or download the Rakuten app to join for free and start saving. That's RAKUTEN.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to the Whispering Woods After Dark. I've got a good, juicy story to share with you today. I'll get straight into it. Are you ready for the story? To understand what happened in Loudon, you first need to understand the France of 1632. The country was fractured. Catholics and Huguenots, French Protestants, had been at each other's throats for generations. King Louis VIII, guided by his ruthless chief, Minister Cardinal Richelieu, was working to crush any resistance to centralised royal power. Richelieu didn't just want obedience, he wanted control. Loudon sat in the province of Putois, in western France. It was a prosperous market town, with a mixed population of Catholics and Huguenots, and it still had its medieval walls, fortifications that made Richelieu nervous. Walled towns could resist. Walled towns could rebel. The cardinal wanted them torn down. The townspeople were divided on the matter. The Huguenots, remembering the wars of religion, wanted to keep their defences. Many Catholics sided with the crown, and into this tension stepped a plague. In May 1632, disease swept through Loudon, killing hundreds. Fear and suspicion hung over the street. Now let's talk about the man who would become the scapegoat for all of it. Urbain Grandier was born around 1590 near the town of Sable. He was educated by the Jesuits, brilliant scholars, and he proved to be a brilliant student. By 1617, still in his 20s, he'd been appointed parish priest of Saint Pierre du Marché, one of the most important churches in Loudon. He was also made a canon of the Collegiate, Church of Saint Croix. These were prestigious positions for a young man, and Grandier knew it. He was tall, he was handsome, he was an exceptional preacher, the kind of speaker who could hold a congregation spellbound. He dressed well, perhaps too well for a priest. He was witty, educated, and he knew how to charm. Women noticed him, and he noticed them back. This was the problem. Grandier was not a man who took his vow of celibacy seriously. The rumours started almost immediately. He was said to have seduced the daughter of Louis Trinquant, the king's prosecutor in Loudon. The girl, Philippa Trinquant, allegedly bore him a child. Other affairs followed, or at least other accusations. Grandier made enemies among the husbands and fathers of Loudon, men who felt their family honour had been stained. He also made enemies among the clergy. The local monks resented his popularity, his easy manner with the congregation, his obvious ambition. And he made one very dangerous enemy indeed. He opposed Cardinal Richelieu's policy of demolishing the town walls. Grandier was eloquent in his opposition. He may have even written a satirical pamphlet mocking the cardinal. If he did, it was a fatal mistake. Richelieu never forgot a slight. By 1629, Grandier had already faced one trial. A man named Jacques de Thibault, possibly a relative of Philippa Trinquant, publicly accused him of immoral conduct. When Grandier confronted him, Thibault beat the priest with a cane outside the church of Saint Croix. The resulting scandal led to an ecclesiastical investigation. Grandier was found guilty of immorality by the Bishop of Poitiers and was temporarily suspended from his duties. But Grandier appealed, and he won. The Archbishop of Bordeaux overturned the sentence and restored him to his position. Grandier returned to Loudon in triumph, more confident than ever. His enemies seethed. They would find another way. In 1626, a small convent of Ursuline nuns had been established in Loudon. The Ursulines were a teaching order founded to educate the girls. The convent was modest, just 17 nuns, most of them from respectable local families, who couldn't afford the dowries required by more prestigious convents. They lived in cramped quarters, and their finances were precarious. The Mother Superior was a woman named Jeanne des Anges, Jeanne of the Angels. She was small, not considered beautiful, and she had a crooked shoulder. She'd entered religious life young, and by her own admission, she struggled with pride, with ambition, with desires she couldn't name. In her autobiography, written years after the events, she described herself as having been consumed by worldly thoughts, even within the convent walls. Jeanne had heard of urban grandeur. Everyone in Loudon had. She'd heard of his good looks, his charm, his scandalous reputation. Some accounts suggest she invited him to become the convent's spiritual director. If so, he declined. He may have been occupied elsewhere. He may have simply not been interested. Whatever the reason, the refusal stung. The position went instead to a man named Jean Mignon, a canon who happened to be a close friend of the Truncant family, the same family Grandier had allegedly dishonoured. In September 1632, strange things began to happen inside the convent. It started with the young nuns reporting visions. They saw a shadowy figure in the corridors at night. Some said it was the ghost of their former confessor, who had recently died of the plague. But soon, the figure changed. It became more distinct. It became the shape of a man, a living man. The nuns began to convulse. They screamed. They spoke in voices that weren't their own. They contorted their bodies into impossible positions. They cursed in languages they'd never learned. And when the exorcists arrived, because exorcists were called almost immediately, the demons inside the nuns named their master, Urbain Grandier. The possession spread throughout the convent, first Jeanne des Anges, then the other sisters, one by one. They wreathed on the floor. They exposed themselves. They shrieked blasphemies that made the exorcists pale. During the rites, they named the devils inside them: Asmodeus, the demon of lust; Leviathan, Beherit, Issachron, Balaam. Each nun seemed to carry her own infernal passenger. The exorcisms became public spectacles. This was deliberate. Father Mignon and his allies wanted witnesses. They wanted the town and the authorities to see what Grandier had supposedly done. Crowds packed into the convent chapel to watch the nuns thrash and howl, while priests shouted Latin prayers and pressed relics against their skin. Jeanne des Anges was the most dramatic. She claimed to be possessed by 7 devils, led by Asmodeus. During exorcisms, she would twist her body backward, her spine bending in ways that seemed physically impossible. She would speak in a deep, masculine voice, mocking the exorcists, revealing secrets about the townspeople, accusing Grandier of signing a pact with Satan. She also did something extraordinary. She produced a document. It was, she said, the very pact Grandier had signed to sell his soul to the devil. The document still exists today, held in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. It's written in Latin, backwards, in mirror script, and signed with strange symbols. The signatures include not just Grandier's name, but those of several demons: Satanus, Beelzebub, Lucifer, Elimi, Leviathan, and Astaroth. A note at the bottom indicates the pact was witnessed and countersigned by demons. The pact was, of course, a forgery. Even by the standards of the time, it was suspect. How had a nun in a closed convent obtained a document supposedly signed in hell? In the atmosphere of hysteria gripping Loudon, questions like that were easily brushed aside. The case might have died down. There were skeptics, doctors, magistrates, even some clergy who doubted the possessions were genuine. The Archbishop of Bordeaux sent his own physician to examine the nuns, and the doctor concluded they were either ill or pretending. The Archbishop ordered the exorcisms to stop. For a time, the possession seemed to subside, but Grandier's enemies had a powerful ally waiting in the wings. Cardinal Richelieu had not forgotten Urbain Grandier. The priest who had mocked him, who had opposed the demolition of Loudon's walls, was still walking free, still preaching, still making enemies among people who mattered. When word of the possessions reached Paris, Richelieu saw an opportunity. In late 1633, the cardinal appointed a new investigator, Jean de Laubardemont, a councillor of state and a man utterly loyal to Richelieu. Laubardemont was also related by marriage to one of the nuns' families. He had personal as well as political reasons to see Grandier destroyed. Laubardemont arrived in Loudon with full authority from the king. He reopened the case. He arrested Grandier in December 1633 and had him imprisoned. The priest's house was searched, and among his papers, investigators claimed to find 2 documents: a treatise arguing that priests should be allowed to marry, and a manuscript criticising Cardinal Richelieu. Whether these documents were genuine or planted, we'll never know. What mattered was that they confirmed what Grandier's enemies had always said. He was a libertine, a rebel, a man who set himself against the church and the crown. The exorcisms resumed, more intense than before. This time, they were conducted in public, not just in the convent chapel, but in churches throughout Loudon, with crowds of hundreds watching. The nuns performed on command, breathing and screaming when the exorcist demanded it. Jean de Ang's devils answered questions in Latin. They revealed that Grandier had attended a witch's sabbath, that he had offered them unbaptized babies, that he had committed acts of obscenity at the altar. Spectators came from across France to witness the spectacle. Among them was a young Englishman named Thomas Killigrew, who would later become a playwright at the court of Charles II. In a letter written at the time, Killigrew described watching a possessed nun lift herself off the ground by her heels and the back of her head, her body arched like a bridge. He wasn't sure what to make of it. He recorded what he saw without judgment. Others were less credulous. A group of physicians who examined the nuns concluded that their convulsions could be explained by natural illness or deliberate fraud. One doctor pointed out that the nuns' knowledge of Latin was suspiciously poor. Their demons made grammatical errors that no self-respecting devil would commit. But Laubardemont wasn't interested in skeptics. He had his orders. Urbain Grandier's trial began in the summer of 1634. It was not a fair proceeding by any definition. The judges had been handpicked by Laubardemont. The defence was given almost no opportunity to present evidence. Witnesses who might have spoken in Grandier's favour were intimidated or ignored. The prosecution's case rested almost entirely on the testimony of the possessed nuns. They were brought into the courtroom where they performed their convulsions on cue. When asked to identify the man who had sent demons unto them, they pointed at Grandier. Jean de Ang's displayed the marks she claimed the devils had left on her. Stigmata, in reverse, brands of hell. Grandier maintained his innocence throughout. He was eloquent, even defiant. He pointed out the absurdities in the evidence against him. He noted that the nuns had only begun accusing him after he rejected the position of their confessor. Suggesting malice rather than possession, he argued that a man could not be convicted of sorcery on the word of demons, since demons were, by definition, liars. None of it mattered. On August the 18th, 1634, Urban Grandier was found guilty of sorcery and commerce with devils. The sentence was death by burning. Before his execution, Grandier was subjected to the question: judicial torture intended to extract confessions and the names of accomplices. His legs were crushed in a device called the brodequins, wedges driven between the shins and the wooden boards until the bones shattered. He screamed, but he confessed nothing. He named no one. The executioners expected him to recant at the stake, but he did not. On the afternoon of August the 18th, Grandier was tied to a post in the town square of Loudon. A large crowd had gathered, some to gloat, others to mourn. The Capuchin friars, who attended him, tried to get him to kiss a crucifix as a sign of repentance. He agreed, but one account claims that as he leaned forward, the friars pulled the cross away, denying him even that final comfort. As the flames rose, witnesses reported that Grandier remained silent. No cries of pain, no curses. Swarms of flies were said to circle the pyre, taken by the crowd as a sign that the devils were abandoning their master. Others saw it differently. They saw a man refusing to give his tormentors the satisfaction of his suffering. Urban Grandier died in the flames, maintaining his innocence to the end. You might expect that with Grandier dead, the possessions would end. He was, after all, supposed to be the source of the demonic infestation. With the sorcerer gone, the devils should have departed. They didn't. The nuns continued to convulse. They continued to scream. They continued to name demons living inside them. The exorcisms continued too, now drawing even larger crowds. The possessions had become Loudon's main attraction. And there were people, powerful people, who had no interest in seeing the show end. Jeanne d'Angers remained the star. Her possessions continued for years after Grandier's death. But gradually, something shifted. The narrative changed. Instead of a woman tormented by devils, Jeanne began to be presented as a woman saved by divine intervention. She claimed that the Virgin Mary had appeared to her, that saints had interceded on her behalf, that the names of Joseph and Mary had miraculously appeared on her hand, stigmata of a different kind. She went on tour of France, displaying her holy marks to the faithful. She met Cardinal Richelieu himself, who reportedly wept at the sight of her. She became, improbably, a figure of piety, a living saint, redeemed from the pit. She lived until 1665, writing her autobiography in her final years. In it, she admitted to having struggled with worldly desires and suggested that her early possession had been at least partly rooted in her own repressed longings. Whether this was genuine insight or careful self-presentation, it's impossible to say. But the autobiography remains one of the strangest documents to come out of the affair. A possessed woman's account of her own possession, filtered through decades of reflection and perhaps regret. The other nuns eventually recovered. The exorcisms wound down. Loudon returned to something like normality. though the scars, physical and spiritual, remained. Modern historians have proposed many explanations for what happened at Loudon. Mass hysteria is one. The nuns lived in close quarters, under strict discipline, with little outlet for their emotions. When one nun began to exhibit symptoms, the others followed, a psychological contagion, not a demonic one. Some have suggested ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye and can cause convulsions, hallucinations, and strange behaviour when ingested. Outbreaks of ergotism have been blamed for other episodes of mass possession in European history. Others see a straightforward conspiracy. Grandier had enemies. Those enemies wanted him dead. The possessions gave them a weapon, and they used it ruthlessly. The nuns may have been willing participants, or they may have been coached, manipulated, pressured into performing their roles. Jeanne d'Angers, ambitious and frustrated, may have found in the possessions a way to seize attention she could never have claimed otherwise. Still, others point to the political context. Richelieu wanted Loudon brought to heel. Grandier was a symbol of resistance. His destruction sent a message. No one was beyond the cardinal's reach. In 1952, the English writer Aldous Huxley published a non-fiction book called The Devils of Loudon, a detailed account of the case that examined the psychology of religious frenzy and the dangers of unchecked authority. Huxley saw in Loudon a warning about what happens when power, fear, and sexual repression combine. In 1971, the British director Ken Russell adapted Huxley's book into a film called The Devils, starring Oliver Reed as Grandier and Vanessa Redgraves as Jeanne d'Angers. The film was controversial, explicit, operatic, deliberately provocative. It was banned in several countries and heavily censored in others, but it brought the story of Loudon to a new generation, presenting Grandier as a flawed but sympathetic figure, destroyed by religious and political hypocrisy. Urban Grandier wasn't a saint. He was vain, ambitious, probably unfaithful to his vows. But he didn't deserve what happened to him. No one deserves what happened to him. As for Jeanne d'Angers, she remains one of the most enigmatic figures in the history of possession. Was she a victim of her own repressed desires, a pawn manipulated by Grandier's enemies, a willing conspirator who knew exactly what she was doing? Or was she, as she claimed, until the end of her life, genuinely touched by forces beyond human understanding?
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people, the engineering and creating people, the fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people, the just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
I don't know if you have seen the said movie. I've seen parts of it, clips when Ollie Reed is like scrambling around naked, I believe. But I've never actually watched the movie, and I think I should. And I do remember that it was like meant to be outrageous because of nudity and everything that was going on. But what a classic kind of story of sex, greed, jealousy, anger, ego mainly. I thought it was great. Whether there was any real possession there, we don't know. But what a story. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, that's it from me today. I'll catch you again on Monday. Take care, everyone.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/Spotify. Terms apply.
Still chasing payments with paper invoices? There's a better way. With Invoice Simple, you can put your phone to work. Download the app and put professional invoicing in the palm of your hand so you can run your business anywhere. Invoice Simple lets you create estimates in seconds on the job site. Send and manage invoices from your favorite lunch spot. Or collect payments in person or online, 24/7, all from your phone. Download Invoice Simple today. Try it free.
The stories told on the Whispering Woods are inspired by historical records, witness reports, and local folklore. While every effort is made to research and represent events accurately, some details, names, and locations may differ from official accounts or have been changed out of respect for those involved. These episodes are created for storytelling and entertainment purposes and should not be considered definitive fact or investigative journalism.